Hey guys, happy Friday. Hope everybody's doing well. I'm here on YouTube and I'm here on Instagram, and it's our last week talking about anxiety. Welcome. So, today I've got a few different tools and tips for you to heal anxiety. So, instead of going too deep into the what is anxiety piece, because we've kind of covered that, you guys know if you've dealt with anxiety. And, to be totally real about it, if you're dealing with anxiety, there is like a biological component. And for the most part, everybody's dealing with a similar underlying biological component, although people have a different genetic and environmental component. The root of everybody's anxiety is slightly different. So, if you're dealing with anxiety, it's really up to you to find out where that originates. Like to truly heal from it, right? You can use different tools and techniques to cope with it in the moment and to heal from it. But to get to the root of it, to totally eradicate it, it's really important to work with somebody to help get to the root of where it originated. And to really understand where it comes from for you. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we wrap up. But let's get to some of the tools I have for you this week. So, one of the things I want to talk about that I think is really important is self-compassion. Some people, actually a lot of people who suffer from anxiety, do so because of their childhood, right? So a lot of people grow up with parenting, or even in school, they have, how do I want to say this? I want to say it in a way that's not too harsh, but they deal with external and then internalized critical parenting. And maybe it comes from their teachers, but then they internalize what they've experienced and then they take it on themselves. And then it turns into a form of being too harsh on yourself. And so what happens is people have this very critical voice. Some people's critical voice is so harsh that it turns into anxiety. And there is no room for self-acceptance, self-compassion. And so it turns into this form of perfectionism and anxiety. And to heal that, self-compassion is so vital. So how can you build that? How can you cultivate that if you've not allowed that for yourself? Well, it starts with awareness first, and then it's like a practice like anything else, right? So you can literally start to work that into your life and into your routine. So how can you start to practice that? You can start to write out a script for yourself. So you can start to say something like, I give myself space, time, and allowance to expand in my life, to make mistakes, to allow myself to not be perfect. Things like this, right? I allow myself grace to expand into the brilliance of my being and into the practice of being me, whoever that is, and into the perfection of imperfection. Things like that. So I would love for any of you out there who are struggling with perfectionism and anxiety around that to practice self-compassion around making mistakes, allowing yourself to stumble and make mistakes, because that is something that brings a lot of people anxiety. So that's my first tip for today. And then my second tip is positive self-talk and mantras. So mantras can be spiritual and woo-woo, but they're also very practical when it comes to dealing with anxiety and trauma. So you can say them out loud. You can say them to yourself. You can say them when your dog's around. It doesn't matter if your neighbor sees you saying them. I recommend you write them down. One of the things you can do is first observe your critical self-talk. See the negative things you're saying to yourself and write those down, because the most effective thing you can do to combat your negative self-talk is notice what you are saying to yourself automatically and then write mantras to combat those. But if we're just dealing with anxiety, one of the ways just generally to combat anxiety when you get completely overwhelmed, the easiest thing to do is to say something like to yourself, I know you're feeling overwhelmed. I know you're having a meltdown. I know you're completely freaking out. Like, again, this is to yourself, but girl, you've got this. This is not life or death. You will get through this. You will wake up tomorrow. You woke up today. You have success in getting through the day. And just keep building yourself up. I recommend writing a script, maybe a note card that you can like pull out of your purse, pull out of your pocket, and you can read it when you're feeling completely overwhelmed and having a meltdown. Like if you're in the middle of dinner with maybe your in-laws or your parents and you can't make it through dinner and you need to step away to the bathroom and you're like, oh my God, I can't get through this. Pull out your card and read it to yourself. Something like that. Whatever it is that's causing you anxiety, where you're having like a panic attack or something, have a script for yourself that you can read. Cool. Abigail says, I asked my partner, how is your inner voice treating you today instead of how are you? Cool. I'd love to know how that goes. I wonder, how does he respond? I'm curious. That's a really cool question. So one practice that I would like to do with you guys now is a practice you can use when you're having anxiety. And it's a grounding practice. It's really simple. So there are different ways that you can ground. So many different ways. Simple things like you can reach out and literally physically ground yourself. You can touch something that you have physically. Like if you're having a full-on meltdown, like your heart rate is going up, you feel like you're almost like having a heart attack, kind of panic attack, right? Because some people have very severe anxiety. Some of you out there do. You can just grab something, hold it, chew on ice cubes, grab a drink, chew something, feel what you're chewing, taste it, kind of like mindfulness meditation stuff. Just really ground yourself in the physical space, okay? Another thing you can do is, and you can do this with me now, so plant your feet on the ground. You can even plant your hands on a table, and you can keep your eyes open. Depending on how, if you're spinning or what's happening for you, you can bring your eyes to closed and take a nice deep breath. And a deep exhale. And I invite you to begin to connect with your body. And another deep breath in. And a deep breath out. And I want you to notice where you're connected to the chair, where your feet are connected to the ground. What does it feel like where your body's connected to the chair? Where your hands are planted on the table? What does that feel like? And your feet, where they're connected to the ground, can you almost imagine them growing roots? Like really feel yourself grounding right now. Feel yourself rooting into the earth. You can imagine even some roots growing above your head, connecting to the sky. Really feel yourself rooting down and rooting up. Connect with your body. Drop down into your body. And any spinning in your mind, any thoughts in your mind, see if you can just let them go. Continue to drop into your body. Really start dropping into the earth. And see how far down you can go. And be here now. With your body, with the earth. Feel connected to it. Beautiful. You can stay with this as long as you want. I'm going to slowly step out. And I invite you to return to this practice anytime you are feeling overwhelmed, you are feeling completely anxious, triggered by anxiety, triggered by past traumas. When you find that happening, use some of these practices we covered today. You can also, if you haven't yet, download my Trauma Trigger Toolkit. It can help you explore perhaps some of the roots of anxiety, some of the roots of what might be causing this. I hope that you found this month useful, that you've explored some of the roots, some of what's causing or gotten some answers to anxiety. And we will continue on another topic next month. Thank you so much for joining me every Friday live on YouTube and IG. And have a beautiful Friday and a beautiful weekend. See you guys soon.